क्या है? 42 से? हाँ? वाह, गजब रईसी। वही तो बोल रहे हो, गजब रईसी। नेक्स्ट ईयर तो हम लोगों ने
Hi, Avneet.
Hi, Aarti. How did it go in the morning? Good.
Not bad. Not bad.
See, I
Can
told
you
you.
share the morning uh, sessions recording and this sessions recording with me?
I have recorded in the morning also. Then I will record now also, and
Mm.
but it will take couple of days to get converted, and then I will be able to give you.
Okay.
Immediately चाहिए क्या?
नहीं नहीं अगर मिल गया तो मेरे को
मिल
कल
जाएगा
के लिए
मतलब
थोड़ा
recording
नो
दे
कल
दूंगी.
to prepare for tomorrow I wanted to see like where it can
ठीक
go
है.
better.
Let me figure out. Give me some time. I'll figure it out. ठीक है. मैं convert करवा लेती हूँ. Okay. Cool. Aarti, shall I start admitting? Huh? I'm giving you co-host access because anyways, I am alone. So you and me only. Hey, by the way, my daughter's results are out.
Ah,
Huh. Later,
yeah.
we'll talk.
Mhm. Hello, everyone. Hi, everyone. How are you doing?
Hi, Aarti. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well, Mohna. Thank you very much. Everyone, come on, keep your camera on. Guys, you guys need to keep your camera on. Okay, yes. Hi, Swati. Hi, Mohna, Sneha, Sonia, Suma, Shailaja.
Hello,
How are you all doing?
good.
Yes, I'm glad to hear that. So, everyone had lunch, and all of you are also feeling sleepy, I guess.
No,
But
we're excited about the class.
oh, yeah, really, I'm glad. That makes two of us for now. You guys, come on. This is gonna be a communication session. It's not gonna work unless you guys actually, get up and talk. Let me set up my presentation while you guys figure out your mics. Or should I say minds? Avneet, let me know when we can start, huh?
Yes, sure, Aarti.
In the meantime, come on, someone tell me. Like, can you all like one after the other maybe introduce yourself and tell me more about you? Shailaja. Yeah, Sonia.
Hi everyone, good
This
afternoon.
is like and then I saw.
Hi everyone, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
This is Sonia here. I am based out of Bangalore. I am on a 12 years of a career break. Prior to that, I had about 8 years of work into FMCG retail industry. I have done my MBA marketing. Thank you.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. Now you go, Shailaja.
Hello everyone,
Hi.
I'm Shailja. Hi, I'm based from Hyderabad.
Okay. So what's your line of work?
Yeah, I'm homemaker.
Okay, what do you want to do?
Uh, I wanted to join in a tech field,
Okay. Got it. All right.
so I am preparing for that,
Okay.
preparing myself for that.
I'm glad. Good.
I'm
That.
audible.
Yeah, you are. Yes, you are. Right? Okay. Now I think we've waited enough for everyone to join in. So good afternoon and welcome to the effective communication session part 1. You're gonna have to tolerate me for 2 more sessions, which is effective communication part 2 as well as interview readiness. So this session is all about the art of making an impact while you're communicating. And I just have some basic rules for the session. Okay. This is about communication. Communication is one of those areas that you can improve on only by doing. So I truly believe that it's like writing, right? You can't just get better at writing by knowing the theory. You have to. It's more of a hands-on process of learning. So I need all of y'all to be very, very active and respond to me whenever possible. Keep your video on, and if I recognize you and I ask you to talk, please, please, please help me out and talk. Yeah. Do I have your word that you're going to be interactive in this session? Yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm only hearing very few yeses. Come on, are you ready for this session? Nobody is, huh? Okay, let's play a little game before we get into this session, okay? So all of y'all can wake up and get over the Monday afternoon blues and post-lunch blues, yeah? Okay, it's a very simple game. If I say Marco, you say Polo. If I say Polo, you say Marco. If I say Marco Polo, you say Polo Marco. Basically, you just flip the combination and you tell, right? Come on, everybody, unmute. And let's start, okay? Marco.
Polo.
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 Marco.
Marco.
Polo Marco.
Marco.
Marco Polo Polo.
Polo Marco.
Marco Polo Polo.
Polo Marco.
Right. Marco Polo Marco.
Polo Marco.
Okay. Marco Polo Polo Marco Marco.
Polo Marco. Marco Polo.
Okay, somebody got it right. Awesome, awesome. Great. I'm so, so glad that you're all here and that you're all awake. My name is Aarti Venkatesh. I am here because I love communicating and I pretty much made a career out of it. I am a social media strategist. I am a resume writing expert. I'm basically a writer at large, and I've been helping brands, influencers, and people communicate creatively for about 5 years now. So in case any of y'all are interested in staying in touch with me, I'm going to drop my details on the chat box. That includes my LinkedIn profile, where you can hit me up, you can stay connected, you can follow me. For those of y'all who are, extraordinarily addicted to Reels and you're on Instagram all the time, connect with me on Instagram also. Although I'm not very active on Instagram right now. And the third link, interestingly, is my top paid services page. If you open that up, you can see a list of my services, what you want, and everything else is over there, right? So let's get started with the session without any further delay. Are you ready? Scream, say yes.
Yes.
I want to hear loud noises so much that I want to remove my earphones.
Yes.
Come on.
Yes.
Yes.
Mom. Yes.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, so communication, right? Let's begin with a very simple question. Let me pick somebody. Hi, Mohana. Hi, are you here? Mohana Priya?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm here.
So, Mohana, what is communication according to you? How will you define communication?
Communication, like it's a conversation that happens between two people.
It's always a conversation between two people, is it?
No, basically, at first, the communication will identify the people, and it's like a bridge between two people. Very first, I can say.
Good. Okay. So it's an exchange. It's an exchange of information between two parties, is what you're trying to say. All right. So what makes communication good or bad, according to you?
Communication based upon our words of usage, the communication will build or break. So
Okay. No, that's how it builds or breaks, correct. But what makes communication good and what makes it bad? Anybody else
If the other
who wants to
part-
answer can also answer.
and
The mode of
The way it is communicated, the medium or the way.
Okay. Okay. What else?
If the other person gets the clarity of what we are talking.
Awesome. That's great. That's great. Who gave me that answer?
Shailaja. ma'am.
That's awesome. That's a great answer. And that's what I was getting to, right? Good communication is the bridge between confusion and clarity. Now, it can be of any, spectrum, right? The confusion and the clarity can be of any spectrum. So, for instance, I am teaching this communication session, and that's a mode of communication too. Communication can be of any form, right? Any format, any way. It could be instructional or directional, where you're teaching someone to do. You're giving instructions on what needs to be done. Like, for instance, your house help or your cook shows up. You're telling her what needs to be done in the house that day. That's instructional. It could be educational, where like this session where I'm trying to teach you something, right? It could also be just conversational, when you're just, say, spending time with your partner and you're just discussing something about life, right? And it can be professional, where you're at a workplace and you're trying to communicate what happens at work. It can be in any spectrum. So when I say good communication is a bridge between confusion and clarity, all I'm trying to say is there is a lack of clarity somewhere, which is why you're communicating. And once that clarity comes in, that's what makes it good communication, right? But the thing about communication is that to effectively communicate, you must realize that we are all different in the way we perceive our world, right? Sorry, can everyone please stay on mute? I'm muting everyone. Yes, right. So to effectively communicate, we must realize that we're all different in the way we perceive the world, right? The first step to communicating effectively is to acknowledge that. For example, right? I might look at this as my favorite bottle for various reasons. Mohana might look at this as a brown bottle. Aisha might look at this as a 1 liter bottle. Nupur might look at it as a bottle with a little shield symbol on it, right? We look at different things, we register different things. When does miscommunication happen? When you assume something's been understood, but it's not, right? Miscommunication is the root cause for a lot of problems with a lot of people. It need not just be professionally, it could be within a marriage, in a relationship between partners, with you and your child, with you and your boss, with anyone, any exchange in the world, any relationship in the world can be made or broken because of miscommunication. And when miscommunication happens, there's always a random assumption that things are clear, right? When there's no clarity, you assume that there is clarity and you just move on, right? So now, to effectively communicate, the first step that you need to take is to acknowledge, understand, and realize that everyone looks at the world differently. Everyone perceives things differently. So it's your job to make things abundantly clear verbally to everyone by communicating properly, right? Now, what you do is you use this understanding that we're all different in the way we perceive, and you use that understanding as a guide to communicate with others. That is exactly what the session is focused on. That's what we're going to be looking at. That's what we're going to try and learn by the end of this session. Okay, so to begin with, effective communication. Now that we know what standards of communication we're looking at, let's now move a little further, one step ahead, and look at how we can make that communication effective, right? Firstly, before we get into what makes it, like how you can make it effective. So can someone tell me what makes communication effective? What can be called as effective communication? Yes, no.
Precise and clear.
Hmm?
The communication should be precise and clear with effective words.
Okay, it should be clear. Okay, what else?
According to the opposite person whom we are talking to.
In the sense that I don't understand.
Understanding how, for example, if it is a child, we have to talk in a loving manner. If it is an elder, we'll talk in a respective manner.
Okay, so it should be in line with how their language of understanding.
Yeah, according to their language of understanding and their level of understanding.
Their level of understanding. How clearly you're speaking and how impactful your message has been received or conveyed is what we have so far. Does anyone else have anything else to contribute? Yes, Sonia. You're on mute. Or rather, I can't hear you.
Can you can you
Ah,
hear me?
now I can hear you. Yes,
The
yes.
message should not be too long. It should be crisp and precise.
Okay, that makes it effective too.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All of these are great answers. But all of you are telling me how to make communication effective. What makes for effective communication is the end result, right? How much of an impact it creates? Is it creating the impact it intends to create, right? For example, if I'm trying to give you, so touch wood, God forbid this doesn't happen, okay? So imagine I'm sitting in this house and there's a fire somewhere and someone has to evacuate everybody in the flat. They're coming and telling me I have to move out. I have to grab whatever I need to and I have to move out, right? Am I understanding that? And am I acting on it? That's what makes that communication effective, right? The end result, is it achieved in line with what it was intended? That's what makes communication effective. Now, how to do this is what all of y'all told me about, and we'll go into that in detail, right? Now, there are two key things that make communication effective. The first one is consolidation. Second one is confidence. Okay. Sorry guys, just give me a moment. Right. Sorry, I just had to sneeze. Anyway, consolidation and confidence. Now, consolidation, right? So the important thing you need to understand is that anything you say needs to be contextualized. You can't just randomly talk about 5 different things and expect somebody to understand. So, what does that mean? You have to structure your thoughts and organize them. Now, how do you do that? So, what does consolidation mean to you in the first place? Before we get into how we do it all. Yeah, anybody?
Many different things has to be put it together.
Okay, it must be put together. And how do you put them together?
Oh, I don't know.
Right, you're almost there. That's what I'm trying to say. So when you're trying to put a lot of things together, see, there's a lot of times, especially at the workplace, you'll have to communicate multiple things at once. Now, these need not always be in the same spectrum of, uh, understanding. They could be different things altogether. You might want to leave. There might be someone underperforming. You might want to talk to your boss about a problem you're enduring at the workplace. You might want to talk to you might want to reach out to them about needing more resources on a certain project. These are all different things. Some are entirely professional, some are about your personal life as well. So how do you actually consolidate your speech? It is by compartmentalizing your thoughts, right? Break them down into smaller points, break them down into smaller tasks, and then present them in a logical flow or a pattern, right? That makes sense to someone who's hearing about it for the first time. See, the main thing about communication is that you must understand the person you're trying to communicate to is a human being that has a lot of other concerns in the world, right? They have 500 other things going on in their head. If you have to grab their attention and you want communication to be effective, you have to, like somebody very rightly pointed out, talk to them in a language they understand, where it's easy for them to understand, right? So when you're contextualizing and compartmentalizing what you want to say, it makes things easier for someone to understand, right? So for instance, 3 is the smallest number that forms a pattern. Say I have 3 things to discuss with you, right? And then when you present them in an order of priority, say smallest to the largest or largest to the smallest, give the good news first and then the bad news, it is much easier for people to retain, recall, and respond to. Right? For example, imagine tomorrow you're applying to a job, maybe 1 week later you get an interview, and maybe this time next month you're having a salary negotiation. Okay, your HR sends you an offer letter, and you're not okay with it, right? And you have a lot of problems with it in terms of what the pay is, the breakdown of the basic HRA, etc. you have problem with everything and you're very annoyed with it. But when you're communicating it, if you keep endlessly telling her that I have this problem, okay, now that this is over, next, it's not going to work, right? The moment you speak to her, you're going to say, hey, thank you so much for giving me this offer, but I have three main concerns in this. The first one is this, the second one is this, the third one is this. When you are compartmentalizing it like this, when you say I have three things, I have five things, I have four things to say, it gives a logical flow to the way you speak, and your the receiver of your message is not just anticipating when the conversation is going to end. They know that there are three things. We're speaking about the first. There is just two more things. Gives them that mental space to sort of understand that that's how much they have to listen to, right? The second thing is confidence. Now, you might have great things to say. You might have great points to put forth. Imagine you're at a brainstorm session with your team at work after you join, and then one of your colleagues is giving a very shitty idea. Okay, it makes no sense. You know it's going to fail. Okay, and you know that for sure. And you have pretty great points too. Like you've compartmentalized your thoughts. You know why it's wrong. You have a logical flow to your argument. Everything's there. But if you're hesitating while talking and you're not talking confidently, none of that is going to be of any use, right? No one's going to listen in the first place. Now, before we go any further about how you deal with confidence, can someone tell me, let me pick somebody. Wait. Why is everyone keeping your video off, yeah? Come on, keep your video on.
The bandwidth is the problem.
I understand, but I don't want to, talk to random names on my screen. I want to see your faces. I need that real-time feedback on how you're, imbibing the content that I'm presenting to you. So, anyway, whom can I talk to? Prachi. Hi, Prachi. Are you here with me? You're on mute.
Hi.
No problem at all. So, Prachi, have you ever encountered a situation where you didn't feel as confident while communicating?
Yeah, many times.
Many times, yeah? Okay. Prachi, you can just talk it out loud. Everyone else, you can put it on the comment box. Just tell me what kills your confidence usually? What causes lack of confidence in the first place?
Sometimes I fear of talking, miss.
Sorry, I didn't understand. I couldn't hear you. Okay, Neetu says the thought of being, okay, whether you're right or wrong, the fear of being right or wrong. Okay, what else? Anybody else? Prachi, what did you say? I couldn't hear you earlier. Lack of words to express. Okay. A linguistic issue. Okay. What else? Kavita, hi. Hi, what's up? How are you?
Yeah, fine.
All right. So what kills your confidence usually?
Vocabulary. Sometimes vocabulary makes me.
Okay. Not knowing how to put your thoughts to words.
Exactly.
Okay. Many of you are saying language proficiency, lack of words to express myself. Okay. Knowledge on language. Okay. Many of you are saying linguistic problems. Okay. Right. While that's one of the things, other problems that mostly that we encounter but ignore are that the stakes are very high. For example, you're in a salary negotiation and the stakes are very high, right? The way you communicate is either going to get you a job or it's not going to get you a job. Or it's either going to get you the salary you want or it's actually not going to do it, right? The stakes are very high. You have too much to lose. Second is the fear of judgment, right? You fear whether you're right or wrong. You fear being judged. And then like all of y'all said, shyness, inability to communicate clearly, language proficiency, etc. Now, how do you fix that? See, of course, with language and communication, like I said, like I've been saying from the beginning, it's more of a show and tell, right? The more you practice, the more you talk, the better you get. You're not going to get better just thinking about it. But thinking about it is also very important because it's a mindset shift that you have to make. It can all be fixed only if you want to fix it. I was recently listening to this mental health professional talk about how she helps people out of anxiety, depression, and related umbrella of disorders. But the one thing she said that stuck with me was that she has never been able to help someone who did not want that help. Right? That makes a sea of difference. The moment you decide you want to change something, that's when you're giving your 100% effort towards it. Before that, I'm not saying you wouldn't be putting your effort, but if you constantly keep thinking this is not going to happen anyway, why am I even trying? It's not going to happen, right? The moment you think you're going to be able to communicate better, you'll be able to pull in your resources internally, and you'll be able to go ahead and do that. And hopefully by the end of this session, I'll want you all, each one of you all, to be a little more confident than you were when you walked into this session. Yeah, shall we work towards that? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. Now, the first thing I want to discuss when we are talking about effective communication at the workplace is assertiveness. All right. So, what is assertiveness? Can someone tell me what assertiveness is? Anybody? Come on. What's assertiveness? You guys, none of you are participating.
Can you please pronounce once more? I didn't get.
I'm asking what does assertiveness mean to you? What is assertiveness?
Assertiveness.
Oh,
Affirmation.
right. Not exactly, but assertiveness is basically the ability to confront, communicate, and comprehend without offending anybody, and more importantly, it is something you do without any aggression. So when I say confront, so assertiveness is the ability to confront when someone does wrong by you, and you want to go and ask them face to face. If you're doing that without offending them and without any aggression, that's being assertive. When you're communicating what you want to say without offending someone and without any aggression, you're being assertive. And when you're trying to understand what someone has already told you, and you're trying to comprehend that for yourself without any aggression or without offending anybody else, that is assertiveness. For example, okay, imagine an unpleasant situation at work, like an instance where your boss undermines you or blames you for something. Okay, how do people usually react? How would you react to that? You didn't make any mistake, or maybe there was just a little part you had in making that mistake, but your boss just undermines you in front of everybody and blames you for the entire thing. How would you react?
To him and giving our point of means our point that what we have tried to do, and something people are misunderstanding that.
Right. Okay. What else?
We accept our mistake and we'll try to rectify it.
Okay. What else? Anything else? Nothing? Okay. So when an unpleasant situation like this happens at work, right? 90% of the people act in one of the following ways. First is the passive kind. They just take it all in without any complaints, but they feel very bad, right? They feel very bad within themselves, but they don't act on it. They feel very bad, but they just say yes, they nod along and they move on. Okay. The second type is the aggressive type. An aggressive reaction is where they go right back at the boss and say, how can you possibly say that this is my mistake? I did not do this, right? How this is, I don't run this team, you do. And I'm not the only person in this team. There are 5 other people. How can you pin this on me? Right? You go and confront it aggressively, right? Now, or that aggression goes elsewhere, right? You're not able to act out at the office, you go and act out at home. You snap at someone who's asking you for something. Maybe it's your parents or your child, your dog. They ask you and you're like, just leave me alone. I'm already very, irritated from work, right? You're acting out that. The third kind of reaction is a passive aggressive reaction, right? They make sly comments like, of course this happens to me. What else? I know for a fact that this guy keeps targeting me. There's nothing I can do about it. I just have to take it and go, right? They make comments, they feel bad, they make comments about it, and they act in a very passive aggressive manner. Now, if the same thing happens, an assertive person will do 3 things, okay? An assertive person will first try to analyze the situation, right? And when I say they'll analyze the situation, they will pause for a second. They will sit down and understand what went wrong. Second is that they empathize, right? You remember the first slide that we spoke about, and I told you that, the beginning of effective communication is where you acknowledge and understand that everyone has different perspectives, right? You stay true to that. You empathize. You look at it from your boss's shoes. Think why he could possibly have thought that this is on you. Did he trust you too much? Did he, did he give you more responsibility? Did he think he can do that because you won't say anything? What is it, right? You empathize. Now, with all this information, after analyzing and understanding what your boss's perspective is, you articulate all those thoughts, right? You articulate them properly and you communicate those thoughts respectfully. Let me give you an example, okay? So when I was working in this agency, there we were working on many different brands, okay? And there were account managers who would talk to clients, and I am the creative person. They will get the brief from a client and they will come and give it to me and tell me what I should do. I'll do it, I'll give it back to them, and they take it to the client. I basically don't talk to the client, okay? So there was this call. There were 2 such account managers, okay? Both of whom were on this brand. And then there was a super boss, okay? I reported to my boss, and then there was my super boss also on the call. Now, what happened was, so we were working on this brand called OnePlus. OnePlus. I'm sure you all know OnePlus as a brand, right? Yes? No? Maybe?
Yes.
Yeah, you do know OnePlus?
Yeah.
Yeah, so OnePlus was a big brand. It was the most money-making brand for my company, right? We were handling all of their marketing. We were handling their, all the hoardings that you see on the road. We were handling their social media. There was a lot of work was going on for OnePlus, and it's a very big brand, which means that was our most money-making brand also. Somehow things went wrong, and the client called up my super boss and told the super boss that we're dropping you. This is not working out, right? My super boss, who did not know anything, right? He wasn't working actively on the brand because he had many other brands to look at also, right? He was a vice president. So he had many things to look at. So he just came and yelled at my boss. He kept saying, my boss and the other, I had 2 bosses. He kept yelling at both of them. And he was like, how can you guys possibly let this happen? How did it come this far? Why was I not informed? Why am I not on MailChimp? He just kept yapping. Okay. So one of these people just yelled back at him because he was absolutely wrong. He didn't know what was happening. The client was just throwing empty threats and it was just wrong, right? She had every right to go off on him as well because it was not her fault. Okay. He did that. But my other boss, the one that I report to, she did a very clever thing. Okay. She just said, listen, I have a client call to get to, right? I'll go attend that call and then let me come and call you back and have this conversation. Okay. So she didn't have any client call to get to. She was very, very angry herself. She was texting me, telling me how wrong he was. He was also angry, but she handled it like this. She said, I'll call you back. Right? In that half an hour, that man cooled down. Okay. He took the time to calm down. And then she went to him and she said, listen, I understand where you're coming from, but this is what happened. This is not our fault. The client did this, but I really think this is what we should do, right? There are three things to look at over here in terms of assertiveness. Firstly, the baseline of being assertive is to not be reactive. There's a difference between reacting to a situation and responding to it. She chose to respond. That doesn't mean she didn't have those emotions that, he was being wrong or anything like that. But she chose to react. She chose to respond to it in a different way rather than react like that other lady, right? So she first disassociated. She gave that man some time to calm down, and then she went. So she analyzed the situation. She empathized why it happened, and when she went, she articulated it clearly enough for him to understand what went wrong, and she went with solutions too. Now, I don't have to tell you who got promoted, right? Obviously, it was this lady who got promoted and not the one that actually went and confronted. Although it was right that what she did was right. It was well within her capacity to do that because it was not her mistake. But please remember, people who get promoted at work are always not the people who are the most skilled or most talented or the people who do good work. It's the people who are assertive, who are emotionally intelligent, who can handle pressure. Most importantly, people who can communicate effectively and handle people, right? People management and emotional intelligence is what gets you that promotion and that attention, not just your skills, right? It's a very thin line. Now, moving on, right? Clear and concise communication. Many of you mentioned how that's what makes up for effective communication as well. Right now, this is going to be an activity-based section, so I need 2 volunteers for this one. Can someone help me? There's going to be a dialogue, and then you're just gonna act it out. Can I have 2 volunteers for this section? Nupur, okay. Anybody else? Anyone else? Anybody else, or I'll just pick. Right, Mohanapriya, you're on the top of my list. Okay, so this is a dialogue. I'll just give you some context. Okay, Anu and Ramya are people who work together. They're business partners, right? They're running a little business together, and one of these people are not feeling okay, and they're trying to have a conversation professionally. Okay, they're friends, but they're business partners too. They're trying to have a conversation, and this is how it goes. Nupur, you can be Anu. Ramya can be Mohanapriya. Yeah, please go on. Read it out for us.
Anu says, hey Ramya, what's on your mind?
I have been thinking about making a major career shift.
Oh yeah, what are you considering?
I want to explore a different career path.
You again.
Did you hear what I said?
About what?
My career change.
Oh, that. What about it?
Don't you have anything to say about it?
Look, I buy you lunch, get you.
Chiropractic treatments.
What is that?
Keep it, it's fine.
Okay. Chiropractic treatments and surprise you with clothes. What more do you want?
It's not just about that. I feel like you don't value my work as much as you should.
Look at how much I do for you.
It's not just about what you do. It's also about how you treat me compared to paying clients.
Fine, let's talk about it.
Right? So now this is how that conversation went. Now let's take a pause on this and learn about the 7 C's of effective communication, and then we'll go back to that conversation and how it can be handled. Okay, and after that, I have few more situations that we can sort of have a conversation about. Okay, thank you very much, Mohana and Nupur. Yeah. Okay. Now, 7 C's of communication, right? The first one is to be clear. One second, let me just mute everybody. Yes, some noise in the background. Yeah, right. First one is clarity, right? Be clear about the goal of your message and the purpose of your message. Present one idea at a time, making it easier for the recipient to understand. Don't leave them guessing for what the message is about, and having to fill in the gaps all by themselves, right? Set goals for your outcome and what you want to communicate towards that, right? For example, right? In case if I am coming into this session and I'm sounding all doubtful and I keep saying, I think this is what it is, you're not going to be motivated to listen to me because you would think I myself do not have clarity about what I'm talking. So there's no point in you listening to me. You could probably even like leave the class, right? Because you don't see any value in it. Now, the thing is, before you speak to anybody at work, it's very, very important that you have that clarity on what you want to say, right? It should always have some direction towards which it's going. And, you shouldn't just, again, going back to the same point, don't assume that the receiver of your message has understood what you said or they know what you mean already. It's your job to be incredibly clear. Okay. The second thing is being concise. So keep it to the point, keep it short, keep it simple. Right? We're living in 2024. All of us have the attention span of a goldfish. Why do you think YouTube ads are only there for 6 seconds before you press the skip button? Every reel, even if you notice while scrolling through reels or YouTube shorts, you look at a video for the first 3 to 5 seconds, and if it's not interesting, you scroll up. You look at the next one, right? Everything needs to be hooking, right? It should convince you in a short time. So if you can possibly use 5 words instead of 10, you should do that. Most of the time, when you're not communicating effectively, you tend to be nervous, you tend to repeat yourself so much, and you tend to beat around the bush, right? So you end up using a lot more words. Don't unnecessarily use words. Use 2 words. Do not ever use 2 words where one will do. Don't use 6 sentences where 3 sentences will convey the message. Don't repeat the same point in different ways. The boy opened the door was opened by the boy. Then the doorbell rang, so the boy ran to the door and then opened the door, right? So we keep repeating ourselves a lot of times when our brain is buffering, trying to figure out what to say. That's when you should remember step 1, which is you need to have clarity before you speak, right? This will also make any communication more engaging and easier to understand for the people you're communicating with. Third, concreteness. Be clear, don't be fussy. Ensure that there is enough detail to get the message across, but not so much that the recipient will be lost and drowned in the details. Right? Remove all the unnecessary parts. You don't have to give every single Herculean detail about every single thing. This is when summarization helps. We have a extensive section about how you can summarize better, and adding too much noise around your main point can mean that your main crux of your message gets missed, right? You keep saying so many things, the main point gets missed. That makes no sense, right? What's the point of communicating when it gets missed? Make sure that your main points or any conclusions are clear to the recipient, right? When I'm talking about this, if I have to give you an example, right? All of you will be attending meetings. Some of you might have to make minutes of the meeting, right? I'm so sorry. So when you're making minutes of the meeting, what usually people do is that they just, they just put an entire blob of text on what was discussed. That's how it usually happens. That's what it's supposed to be also. Now you have, generative AI tools that do it for you, that even when you're on Google Meet, when you're on Teams, or when you're on Zoom, they all these applications do the minutes of the meeting themselves. But what I do at the end of every minute of the meeting is that after mentioning all of what we discussed, I add another section called action items for each stakeholder, right? If it's going to be me, if it's going to be me, Nupur and Mohana in a meeting, in an internal meeting, or maybe if they're my clients, whatever it is, after writing down the minutes of the meeting, I'll put action items, and then I'll say action items for Aarti, ABC, action items for Nupur, CDE, action items for Mohana Priya, XYZ. Right? That makes things very, very clear. They make it concrete. There is some direction, right? You're not just saying we discussed this, but this needs to be done. This makes it easier for you to backtrack and understand what needs to be done also. So when you're communicating, your communication need not just be in person. When you're communicating at the workplace, you'll be communicating through emails, you'll be communicating probably through WhatsApp or Slack or any other internal communication channels. All of this is communication too, right? So whenever you're speaking, everything is, especially when you're talking on talking via emails, texts, or something, they are going to be there forever. It's recorded. So you have to be all the more careful that they are proper. Which brings me to the next point: correctness. Right? Check the information you're providing is accurate, and especially when it comes to return communication, such as messages, emails, etc. Ensure that it's free of grammatical and spell errors, right? These days, you have so many tools that can help you do it for free. You have Grammarly, you have ChatGPT. You feel like you're not able to do that, or you don't have the time to simply sit and write full sentences and correct grammar. Use the tools that are, you don't have to always work hard. You can work smart too. There are so many tools available to you, such as Grammarly, such as copy.ai, ChatGPT, so many more GPT tools that can help you write out an email properly, that can help you correct your grammar. It's just an extension. It automatically happens, right? It automatically corrects spell errors, etc. So try to use all of that, right? Check the technical parts of your content are understandable for the person receiving the information. Preparation is key when it comes to being correct, right? The preparation will help to make sure that you are clear about what you're communicating. And please always look at what you're sending before you're sending it. Okay. That brings me to the next part, which is coherence. Make sure your message flows well and it's laid out logically, right? The points you make should all be linked to the main topic and should help you deliver your objective that you originally set out to convey, right? Make sure the tone of your message is the same throughout, right? When I'm talking about logical flow, right? Especially when I look at emails, I notice this with a lot of people, especially in senior positions with more than 5 to 7 years of experience. I still see a blob of text, right? An email is already in itself a lot, right? So don't have more than 2 or 3 sentences in a paragraph. Move to the next paragraph. Indent, give it some space, make it easier for somebody to see. For example, I'm sure you're all on LinkedIn, right? If you look at the pattern of content you consume on LinkedIn, right, you will be able to notice that you read posts that are like one sentence and then gap and then the other sentence there. Posts that are formatted that way are much easier to read. You're more likely to read them. That's why people put it that way. If you see a blob of text, even in an advertisement, a hoarding in a bridge, a skywalk, whatever, you're not going to be motivated to read those because it's a blob of text. You just don't want to process so much information. We've become visual beings, right? Visually, if it is clear for me to look at, like for instance, even on the screen right now, you have 7 C's that are actually properly aligned. It's easier for you to look at. Imagine I just wrote all of this like in big sentences and without any gaps. You won't even probably read it fully. This, I'm sure you would have read it fully, right? So that visual, that visual space needs to be there for someone to be able to read through something that you're saying. Okay. The next thing is completion, right? Ensure that the recipient has everything they need to understand your message and take action if needed. This again brings me to the point of action points that you need to put down at the end of every meeting. If you are the one conducting a meeting in person or online, ensure that by the end of the meeting, you summarize what happened. and you highlight what each person needs to do at the end of the meeting. Or if you're the one attending the meeting, someone else is conducting it, say your boss is conducting it, be proactive and summarize and ask questions on what needs to be done if it's not clear to you. This makes you come off as a more efficient, productive, and present person who listens actively. Right? Next thing is that you should also ensure that you have that any specific detail that you give out is clear and it's included in the communication that you put out. Don't leave the recipient to ask a lot of questions. So when you are conducting a meeting, when you are trying to communicate, ensure that all possible questions are answered by the end of it. Right? Think about how you will check for understanding something. Right? For example, you could ask questions, check with them multiple times if they understood it clearly. This will cut back on a lot of time when it comes to turnaround times on whenever something has to be delivered. Then, talking about courteousness, the last part, right? Your message could be great. You could have great points to say. You could be clear, you could be concise, you could be concrete, you could be correct, most of all. You could be coherent and you could give everything in its entirety. But if you're not putting it forth courteously, in a professional, diplomatic, friendly, polite tone that is open and honest, nobody is going to listen to you. This is the most important C of all the 7 C's, because everything else can be compensated. Even if 1 or 2 are not there, it's fine. If it's put forth properly, it'll still work, right? So think about your message from the recipient's point of view. If you are someone, see, imagine, I'm sure you guys have a lot of experience before you took a career break, right? And I'm sure as a junior, you got a lot of feedback from a lot of people, and some of it would have made you feel so bad and question yourself and question your capability. It's happened to me. It's crushed me. It's made me feel like I should probably not be in the profession at all. It's pushed me to almost put down a resignation letter, right? It's very hard to, people find it very hard to take feedback that is negative, right? If you are in a position where you're giving feedback, just remember that you were once that person and show that empathy, show that kindness. If you are someone getting bad feedback, remember that you are more than that kind of feedback, right? Again, empathize, analyze, and then articulate and communicate to that feedback giver that they were not kind. Okay. Now, what I'm trying to say is, when you visualize this whole thing from the recipient's point of view and you're empathetic towards their needs, it will help you deliver a message that's very easy to understand for them and for them to buy into. Right? Communicating to or writing for the reader can make your communication a lot more engaging, a lot more productive, right? And by following these 7 C's, you should be able to find the messages you're delivering are a lot more effective and efficient, right? Now that we've understood the 7 C's, let's go back and see if this conversation gets better, right? Mohana and Nupur, yes, you have it again. Nupur, are you here? Nupur's not here? Okay, Mohana, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Okay. Mohana and maybe Aisha. Aisha, are you here? You're on mute.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so just fill in for Nupur and read out the next part. Mona, yeah, go on.
Okay.
Yeah, Mona, go on.
So I will take the role of Anu.
Yeah, whatever you took before.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
This is not about what you do for me, Ramya. It's about what you did to me.
Okay, I'll just take up Nupur's part, okay? Go on.
When I came to talk to you about something important, you were dismissive. It made me feel unheard and disrespected.
Okay, I'm so sorry, Anu. I didn't mean to hurt you or make you feel ignored. I should have been more mindful and considerate when you brought up your career shift.
Thank you for apologizing. Moving forward, let's focus on better communication and support each other's aspirations, both professionally and personally.
Right. Thank you very much. Now, the reason why I included this conversation is firstly, my best friend works for me. Okay, she works for me part time, and we end up having a lot of these conversations too. Everyone says that dosti or dhanda doesn't, work well, but for us, it's never been a problem. I'll tell you why, and it'll be very useful for you also because I've noticed that a lot of us end up becoming friends with our colleagues, whereas in the Western countries, colleagues are colleagues and friends are friends, so it's much easier for them. But we are intrinsically, as Indians, we are intrinsically, socially charged to become friends with everyone, right? And I'm sure you've had friends from your workplace too, and sometimes you might be in a situation like Ramya and Anu as well, right? Now, the reason why I've never had a problem working with my best friend is because we always use the word I when we're trying to communicate, right? I don't go and tell her that, what have you done? You have not done a good job. This is not correct. What you've done is absolutely wrong. That's not how we talk. I say, I don't think this works because of this reason. I think it should be better this way, right? So there's always a little bit of, how do I put it, a responsibility that I take and I assume. So that's one way to deal with it. And the reason why this conversation works better is because, again, being assertive definitely helps, right? So I have a couple more situations that we can try out. Do I have more volunteers here, or should we do it in the end of the session? After maybe, yeah, we can do this in the end of the session. Now, this is one of my favorite parts of the session, right? Summarizing effectively. Firstly, what is a summary? A summary is a shorter version of an original by default. A summary is nothing more than 25 to 30% of the original,
Aarti, your voice is breaking.
Oh, is it breaking for everybody?
No, it's clear.
Clear, right? Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, right? So, a summary by default is nothing more than 25 to 30% of the original piece of content that you're trying to summarize, right? So how do you go ahead and do it? Let me explain this to you again with an example, okay? Imagine you're preparing a presentation for your CEO, okay? The CEO asked you for something and you're preparing a presentation for her, and you've asked all your teammates to contribute, right? And they all had a lot to say. They gave you plenty of information. But now you have a dozen reports, all in different styles, and your CEO says that she can only spare 10 minutes to read the final version. What do? The solution is to summarize and paraphrase, right? But there are two different things. I'll tell you how. Okay. Firstly, when you're summarizing, identify the essence of the context, right? You don't have to, there are a lot of details that can usually be avoided. Right? You don't copy paste stuff. That's not a summary. That's a collage, right? The solution to summarize effectively is to, firstly, a summary is very different from a paraphrase, right? A paraphrasing is where you explain somebody else's ideas in your own words. There is no shortening involved. A summary is where you distill the info and you highlight only the critical points. It's a definitive shortening process. Okay. The important thing about summaries is that you do not add any opinions or judgments. That's a commentary, right? What you see in IPL every day in the evenings is a commentary. Somebody is playing, someone's watching, someone's analyzing it, and they're giving you what they think, right? Oh no, isko aisa marna tha. They should have brought in Dhoni. later, whatever it is, right? That's a commentary because it's a judgment, it's an opinion. A summary does not involve any opinion, does not involve any judgment, right? So let's look at it with an example. Can someone read this out for me? Anybody? Shailaja?
Yeah,
Or Neeta? Neeta, yes.
yeah. Hi.
Hi.
So, original. So, how do you go about identifying your strengths and weakness and analyzing the opportunities and threats that flow from them? So, SWOT analysis is a useful technique that helps you to do this. What makes SWOT especially powerful is that with a little thought, it can help you to uncover opportunities that you would not otherwise have spotted. And by understanding your weakness, you can manage and eliminate threats that might otherwise hurt your ability to move forward in your role. If you look at yourself using the SWOT framework, you can start to separate yourself from your peers and further develop the specialized talents and abilities that you need in order to advance your career and to help you achieve your that much I able
Your
to
personal
see.
goals. Your personal goals. Okay, thank you
Okay.
so much for that, Neetu. Right, that's the original version. And the summarized version of it goes as follows. SWOT analysis is a technique that helps you identify strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Understanding and managing these factors help you develop abilities that you need to achieve your goals and progress in your field. Right? Now, you understood the same thing from both these, right? If you see, it's like less than 25% of what the original text is. It's rephrased in different words, and there's no judgment. They're not saying whether SWOT analysis is good or bad or is useful or not, right? There's just whatever information is already there, it's just shortened and put forth. Summarizing is an art, and it will definitely come in handy when you're in the work because you will be using it a lot, right? A coworker or your boss might not be a part of the meeting. You might have to fill them in. You might have to give a knowledge transfer when you're moving from one department to another, or when you're moving between two jobs, right? There are so many times where you have to summarize and paraphrase. This is an art, and just remember to look for the details, look for the soul, or rather the crux of the information, right? This is about SWOT analysis. So very simple. What is SWOT? Why is it important? Those are the two main things that this is dealing with, and that's what was consolidated into the summary, right? So try to pick that part out, right? So now moving on to verbal and non-verbal cues. Okay, let's first go to verbal communication. Right? When it comes to verbal communication, there are two main parts to it. The first is active listening. When communicating with another person, it can be easy to plan your response when you actively listen to that conversation, right? Active listening is an important thing to do, especially when you're taking part in a one-on-one conversation, because the entire weight of the conversation is on you equally, right? But it's also important while giving presentations, while attending a meeting, even during an interview, all of these things, right? It helps you understand the message and prepare a response based on it. So what you can do is you can use like two ways, or rather, I think 4 ways um, to develop the art of active listening. First thing is figure out what your distractions are, keep them at the minimum. For example, I'm trying to communicate with you and I am trying to actively listen. When there is when somebody's mic is not on mute and there is a noise in the background, it distracts me. I identified that and I keep going and muting everyone. Right? So keep distractions to the minimum. When you're listening to a speaker or to any other person, try to keep your distractions to a minimum, and if possible, move to a quieter place. Focus on the conversation. If you're working from home, your child's moving around, go to a different room, take that meeting, finish that. Don't attend to your child until that's over, right? If that works for you, that is, right? Second, maintaining an open mind. When you're actively listening to a speaker, try to keep an open mind and avoid judging based on any kind of stereotypes, right? Firstly, that is the number one thing to being an active listener, because the moment you start judging, the moment you don't have an open mind, you have judgments, you have opinions that you want to give out, and you end up interrupting the person, right? Which is the opposite of listening. Third, focus on what the speaker is saying. Before jumping into any conversation, listen to what the speaker is saying and formulate your response based on that. Respond to it only after the speaker finishes. So I follow this thing called the 3-second rule. Okay? The thing is, whenever I'm at work, right? Whenever I'm having any professional conversation with anyone, a client, a prospect, a lead, someone I work with, a coworker, anything, right? My rule is very simple. I count to 3 in my head before I respond to anything. Because a lot of times people take a pause and then they start talking again. But when you don't count to that 3, right, you end up interrupting them, you end up talking over them. And then there's this awkward moment where you say, oh, you go first. Oh, no, you say it. And then you lose your train of thought, right? So the easiest way to be patient and listen actively is to use the rule of 3, right? Always count to 3 before you respond to anything in a professional situation, okay? And then last one is avoid concentrating on a particular aspect of the message, right? Instead, try to understand the entire message and grasp major points of the message. When you're responding to something anybody is saying, right, always follow a top-down approach, right? An inverted, like a cone, an inverted triangle approach. Basically, that's how news articles are written, right? They talk about the main things first and they get to the details in the end. That's how your response should be, like an inverted triangle. You talk about the major overarching issues first, and then you boil down to the details. You don't focus on just one thing first. You focus on things that needs focus towards the end. Okay. Then moving on to effective speaking. Effective speaking is also about how effectively you can deliver the intended message to your audience. So there are 3 key elements to effective speaking. First one is the choice of words, right? While words may vary depending on the situation, depending on the topic, and depending on the audience, choosing the right words is essential to convey the right message. For example, your word choice would be different when you're speaking to a group of friends. Your word choice would be very different when you're speaking to a child. Your word choice would be different when you're speaking to your business stakeholders, right? Often you make word choice based on the level of understanding of your audience, and your equation with them, your respect level, etc. Right? There's no point in, for example, right? Imagine you're talking to clients who've hired you for a technical capacity because they are not technical people. If you're randomly going and throwing technical terminologies and jargons at them, they're not going to understand. That's why they have you, right? There's one thing I learned in marketing. It's always a bottom-up approach. It's always a reverse engineering process. If you want to communicate effectively, you need to understand your audience, right? You need to understand your audience. You need to understand what they want and then give it to them, rather than giving something to them and convincing them that that is right. It's much easier that way. Okay. Second, the delivery. Okay. The way you deliver a message can significantly affect the message you're trying to do. For example, right? If I used to be very shy, I used to be very introverted when I went to work, and I wouldn't be able to actually, like, deliver anything properly. I would be very quiet, and I couldn't do that much, right? But my coworker who joined the same day as me, Preksha, she was very, very confident. Like, she always used to speak very clearly, and the thing is, she had a great command over the language. Talking in English wasn't, a problem for her. So she got away very easily. She was able to talk to everybody, and it was very easy for her. So it is important to be aware of the pace and tone of your voice when you're trying to communicate, especially while starting out, like how I was. I felt that was a game changer that made me communicate better, right? I understood the pace at which I should talk, and the volume I should throw out for people to be able to clearly understand, right? Now, another thing is reinforcement. Okay, non-verbal communication plays a crucial role in effective speaking because the cues you send through facial expression, through gestures, through body postures, significantly affect how your audience perceives or receives your message. Right? So now, for example, facial expressions can show whether you're anxious, you're tense, you're irritated, you're in agreement or not. To become an effective communicator, your non-verbal expressions have to reinforce the same thing as your words. You can't just say, yeah, I'm happy, and do this, right? And everyone will know the most passive aggressive people do that, right? They'll say yes, yes, and they'll look happy, but they'll make us like off, right? Your face, the way you present yourself and what you're saying should be in harmony. You can't say yes and act like no, right? So that brings me to the next and the last part, which is non-verbal communication, right? There are 6 things you should remember when it comes to non-verbal communication. First is kinesics, movement. Don't move too much. You might have space, you might not have space. That's not what I'm talking about. When you're trying to communicate effectively, the more you move, or the more your body moves, the more your face moves, the more distracting it is for the people trying to listen. Right? Try to keep your hand movements within the frame of your face. That's when it looks organic. The more you do this and this and this and this, it's not going to look organic. It's going to look like you're trying too hard. Right? So keep all your hand movements within the frame of your face. Second, don't make any faces. Don't try to react. See, the thing is, in the workplace specifically, there are people who make no sense. There are people who might say shit to trigger you. There are people, who are absolutely wrong. But the thing is, the moment you start showing it in your face, people can read you like a book, right? Don't give in that way, right? Don't sigh, don't roll your eyes. All of this will affect the effectiveness of your communication, right? Try to be assertive. Try to keep a straight face even at times where that's absolutely can't. Proxemics and haptics, right? Proxemics refers to proximity or personal space. Haptics refers to touch, especially in a corporate setup, right? Even the basic things I've seen people go wrong with. One of the most commonly made mistakes is, how people rush to the elevator, right? They don't even have a sense of how many people are standing in front of them, just cutting a line, just trying, like, accidentally touching people while trying to call for the lift, all of these things. Please remember that it's not okay to get too close with anyone. Naturally, we tend to move very close to another person in a line and not leave any space because we're worried someone will cut us. But remember personal space, boundaries, and respect them. Don't randomly just take the liberty to touch anyone. No one's going to be able to focus on the messages you're trying to give if they are very rigid or rather focused on their personal space, right? So we all tend to make friends when we go to work, like I already said, right? So, and with friends, we are very touchy. We give them a hug, we high five, we just pat them on the back, shoulder taps, whatever, right? So don't take the liberty to do that to anyone before it's like, mutually okay. I know this shouldn't be a big problem for any of y'all, but it's just a part of non-verbal communication that I'm trying to convey. Oculesics refers to eye contact, right? Eye contact is important. Somehow, I don't know how to scientifically prove this to you or if there's any proof to it, but the effect, the energy exchange that happens when you look at someone in the eye is same, right? Which is why I really wish this was a in-person class and not an online class, right? The moment you make eye contact while communicating, people know that you're confident, and they start to build this trust with you, right? It's like, insecure people cannot make eye contact. Only confident, good-hearted people can make eye contact, which is why it is said to invoke feelings of trust and invoke feelings of confidence, right? So make as much eye contact as possible. It's very, very important. But please don't freak people out by staring at them constantly, right? Too much is also too much. Vocalics refers to voice. Try to be audible, try to not speak too soft, but it's also not okay to yell, right? Keep your decibel level in check if you want to be heard. Chronemics refers to time. This is literally the most ignored non-verbal cue ever in the history of time. Time is vital. You cannot keep taking your own sweet time, or you can't keep trying to talk. If someone's taking too much time, nobody's probably listening, right? That's when your summarization skills, your paraphrasing skills, your ability to be concise and comprehend properly comes into play. The sooner you convey a message, the sooner you grab attention, the more attention they will give. That's exactly why we are a generation of people that keep scrolling 30-second reels, but we're also a generation of people that will sit and binge watch TV for hours, right? That's because it has our attention. So to gain that attention, you need to be very, very mindful of chronomics or time, right? So that brings us to the end of this session. Thank you so much for joining in. But before we go, I have two things, right? First is we're going to go back to that whole situation thing. And we're going to see if you guys can communicate better now after this session. So I'm going to pick random people. I'm just going to drop the prompts here, okay? And I'm going to pick someone to have a conversation like this, and I'm going to give you feedback on how that will be better, right? Are there any volunteers who want to try out these situations and talking to me about them? Anybody? Anyone? Guys? Okay, I'll give you 3 seconds to volunteer. If not, I'm going to choose some. Okay, Shailaja, hi. Oh, okay, we have someone who wants to talk. Hi, Swati. Can you unmute yourself? I can't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I'm not able to see you though. Okay, you have a very nice dining/coffee table. Okay, I can see you now. Right. So which situation do you want to take up? There are 3 situations out here. So let's say someone takes credit for your idea. Okay. So imagine you and I are colleagues. Okay. We have an internal huddle, you, me, and some of our teammates. And we come up with an idea that has to be presented in a big meeting tomorrow. Okay. And now it's tomorrow. I come to that meeting and I just present that idea. Okay. I don't essentially say it's mine, but I don't say that it's yours. So everyone ends up thinking it's mine. Okay. That's the situation. How are you going to handle it? We are sitting in the meeting, all the senior stakeholders are there. How are you going to handle it?
I'll go with the flow. And
make that conversation. So I'm saying, so ladies and gentlemen, this is the idea and this is how it's going to work.
okay. Let's pick an idea like probably a project or something where a functionality that somebody thought of, something on that lines. We can go.
Doesn't matter. The details don't matter. I'm trying to say that it's your idea and I'm stealing credit for it. Okay. And this is a big board meeting. You're a part of it. I don't give you credit. How are you going to respond?
Whom am I responding to?
Oh, you are a part of that meeting. It's your idea and no one knows that it's your idea. So how are you reacting to it?
I'll not react in that meeting. I'll not
Okay.
react. I'll prefer to take it up later on, but I'll let the idea get presented
Okay.
because it
But
is
this is
an
very
after.
pivotal. It's your idea and it would be huge for the company. And
Yeah,
it
but
could
if
really
it
put
is
you
my
ahead the
idea,
race.
if it is my idea, I'll definitely have something to say more than the person who stole it.
Right. Now you have
I
more
will,
things to say. Now say it.
yeah. So when we are going into looking at this functionality, I would say that we should do it in the following manner, which would be more insightful for the customer who is going to be more open to this manner of working. So
Okay.
I'll go about, more into the details of it and
Okay, let me
which,
stop you right there. Okay.
yeah.
What you're doing is perfect. I'll tell you
Mhm.
what's wrong with it. Okay. The thing is, it's not good to let anyone steal your credit. I'm sure it's happened to a lot of us here. It's happened to me, and I've shut up about it, and I've regretted it all my life. And something like this happened. The ideal assertive way to respond to it is the right direction in which you went. You obviously have more things to say about your own idea because it's your idea. You've conceived it in the first place, right?
Right.
So, building upon that, you're in the right direction. What you should probably do is maybe get up, thank this person, say, thank you so much for spotlighting my idea, Aarti. I think I just have a few more things to say, which is this is XYZ. This is how we go about with it because of this particular rationale, right? I'm not asking you to be passive aggressive, but sometimes it's important that you establish what you do.
Okay.
Now, if I were a colleague, this works. Imagine I was your boss, right? The way you react would be entirely different. If I were your boss, it again depends on how much guts you have and your equation in this whole thing. There are two ways to go about it. One is either you do the same thing. You thank me for spotlighting your idea and you go ahead and give more information about it, or you take it up with your boss separately. Go after analyzing, understanding, empathizing, and then articulating how you want to talk. Go talk to the boss. Tell her this is not okay. Somehow you want credit. Yada yada. Goes on. The direction you're taking is great, but the approach should be more self-protective. Is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody else for situation number 2, which will definitely happen to all of you when you join work. Neetu. Right? So I'm your boss and we're gonna have this conversation. Just go with the flow, okay? Don't have to prepare. Are you here? Neetu? Okay, Neetu's not responding.
Yeah, I
Okay.
am.
Right. So Neetu, I know you have to go home, but we have this huge project coming up and we are quite behind on schedule. You have to stay back and work today. Only then we can send it to the product management team to clean it up tomorrow and then send it to the client. So please stay back and finish this.
Okay, so in that situation, I have to convey to my boss, correct?
I am your boss. I just had that conversation with you. You have to respond to me now. I'm asking you to stay late, but you have to leave office for a personal obligation. Say you have to take care of your child. Okay? Go on.
So I definitely want to stay with the team and I want to complete this today only. But I have to go to my home because my child is at home alone and nobody is there to take care of him also. So I just can hand over my things to my colleague and I can assist him with whatever I have done so far so that he can able to proceed it and we can complete this on time. So that much
Right.
I
Your
can
approach
assist,
is
but
perfect.
my personal obligation also need to be.
Your approach is perfect. The way you communicate, could be better. I'll tell you how. You started off great. You first, the good thing you did is you first assured me that you want to do this. That you understand the situation. You're not questioning why you have to do this and you want to do this. You're telling me that. But you're also telling me you have another obligation. Now, instead of saying that, I'll just hand over this to my colleague and my colleague will just, finish this up without even checking with that colleague, you can't say that. So what you could possibly say is, but this is something I have to do. I have to get home. Can we figure something out? Is it okay if I ask this person to fill in for me? Is it okay if I work from home? I need 3 hours. I need to go home and take care of my child. And after that, I'm all yours. But I ensure that it gets done by first half of the month. Right? So the approach you took is fine. The way you put it forward could have been better, but great job. Thank you so much for that. Right? So anybody else wants to try situation 5?
Thank you.
Shailaja, Mona, Priya, anybody? Shailaja, yes. So imagine I'm your junior, okay? You have to give me negative feedback, okay? And I look up to you so much and you're a colleague and everything. So you have to tell me that I've not done a good job. How will you do it?
Okay. I can't tell him directly, so I have to be diplomatic and convey him
You figure that out.
Yeah, whatever you did was good, but it could be better if you have
There's a
done
but.
it this way.
No, I'm just going with the conversation. Keep talking.
Okay. Whatever you did is good, but it could be better if you did it this way. And maybe we should try it in that way.
Awesome. Again, correct approach, right? Little communicational aspects that you can add to it, I'll tell you how. So you can say, hey, hi, is now a good time to talk. First, check with anyone before you talk to them. Is now a good time to talk. You have 5 minutes. I just want to have a quick chat, right? Then give information that this is the project. You did great, but XYZ things didn't work for me, right? And tell them why it didn't work. And then what you did was absolutely right. You're giving the solution. You're giving the next action item. Maybe we can try it this way, which is perfect, right? So good job. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, everybody, for joining in. Did you all enjoy the session? Did you all get to learn something new?
Yeah, we did.
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. I'll see you guys very, very, very soon. And thank you so much for joining in. I know the afternoon session is not usually a great time to have a session. You're feeling sleepy after lunch, and it's the only time you have to yourself and everything. But thank you so much for joining in. I'll see you very soon. Bye.
Bye.
I'm just gonna drop
Bye.
my details in the chat section in case you guys want to, stay in touch. Okay. Thank you. Bye. Have a good day.
Thank you, Ati.
Thanks, Avneet. Bye.
Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow again. Have a lovely, lovely day, all of you ahead. And all the very best.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Aarti.